Our next presenter is going to be Laura again, and she'll be covering the site-wide timeline updates and an overview.
Hello again. If you're sick of me, too bad. I'm talking a lot today. So I know people are still kind of talking a little bit, which is totally fine. So before we go to the next slide, I just what we're going to talk about tonight, I think it maybe was a little confusing on the agenda. Before we get to the feature presentation, which is going to be very exciting, is some when I say timeline updates for folks online too, hello again. What I mean um, are opportunities for informal feedback at each of the project areas. So we're going to be updating you kind of on how things are looking for 2026 because part of the process that Portland Harbor has in our community involvement plan is for each project area that's working on designing for the cleanup right now. There's a sweet spot which tonight we are honored to talk about a couple of those, and we'll transition to that later. But there's a sweet spot for getting informal feedback on the actual design, informal community feedback. So we'll be talking more about that. But what I want to just show you is how things are looking for 2026 because it's looking like there are a lot of those opportunities coming up, and we have some thoughts that we'd like to get some informal feedback from you tonight after talking to the steering committee. So if we want to go to the next slide, please. Okay, so this is how things are looking for 2026. So some of you might remember, like we had an informal feedback presentation on the Swan Island Basin design. Willamette Cove is gone. There have been some others, but you'll see for 2026. So right now, and online too, you can see I'm pointing to March. So this is where we are tonight. So tonight, we exciting get to do Cathedral Park and the EPA fund lead areas, 60%. So not worried about that. We're going to do that tonight. But in June, there's the navigation channel. And again, these are approximate dates. So we'll see, like some of these could change. This is always tentative based on schedule. So, but this is right now our best approximation after talking to the team. So where things are getting a little crazy is August, September, right? So we see August, September, there's a lot, there's about five right now, project areas that would have that sweet spot for informal feedback, where normally what would happen is we'd have, an individual like meeting for that project team to talk about their design. And then we'd get feedback informally from the Willamette River Advocacy Group on that. So I want to highlight the August and September ones right here because we did talk to the steering committee about this too, and they gave some really great ideas that we wanted to run by you. So tentative ideas, workshopping this right now tonight, because I'm not as concerned about November, right? There's a couple there. I think we can figure that out. Maybe split that at a CAG meeting or a collaborative meeting, or we can think about that. But these five here, what we're thinking right now is maybe this idea came from the steering committee. But we can think about whatever additions you might want or changes is what we could do maybe at the September collaborative meeting, which will be hybrid. And Marcus, I know you're online tonight, so the technical advisor for the Willamette River Advocacy Group, if Marcus can make it too, that would be great. Is we could have maybe each of these project areas prepare a very short presentation, have a template that would hit, some of the main points that we know people are interested in. And the steering committee tonight, Josie and Laura's presentation, you'll see kind of a little bit of a sample of that because some of the main things we know that people are interested in are like, how does this design incorporate habitat considerations, right? How does it incorporate the community? How is it addressing the community impacts mitigation plan? So maybe each of these project areas could kind of have a very short, maybe 10-minute or less presentation that we do in that virtual space and in-person space. But then for like the second half or the next hour in person, we could have an open house kind of style where there could be like a booth, for each one, and you could ask all the questions, that you would like in a more informal setting. And online, You would have access to those presentations, hello online, if you're online, and we could maybe have a couple runners, in the room that could, if there's questions online after that first part, we could, go to those booths and then like bring those questions back. That's the general thought because it would, we want to try to be respectful of everyone's time and make sure that we can still provide informal feedback on these, and it's going to be a lot of work for the rag too. So I'll stop talking. Does that make sense? First of all, just kind of this what I said in terms of what the opportunity is here and also the potential solution, and if there are other thoughts on that. I see one nod. I see Zora's nodding. Are there other do people like Do people generally like that idea? In the room, if you want to raise your hand, if you generally like the idea. Okay. Okay. Oh, great. How about online? So in the room, people like the idea generally, I think. Okay. Okay. Thumbs up. Okay. All right. Um, does anyone have any other feedback they'd like to provide about the idea? It's gonna be a short discussion if not. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you to the steering committee for thinking of this. Okay, I think we're good then. That is it. But I will stay up here because I'm here.
Oh, wait, we have one question.
Oh, okay.
Online from Emil, if you want to come off mute.
Yeah. So when you talk about asking the questions for the people online, would it be possible for someone to pick up the owl or the laptop with the camera and actually we could all get the answer to that online question when we're online? Because that would make it a lot easier for us online to get, I don't know, I think it would be a lot more interactive and a lot more engaging if we're not able to be there.
Yeah. Are you thinking how are you kind of picturing that would look, Emil? Were you thinking like if there are booths like yeah, somehow you could be taken to that booth online is
Right.
kind of
So
what
if
you
you
were
have a
thinking?
question for DEQ, the DEQ table, then you would go over to the DEQ table and talk to them directly rather than ask the question and then give it back to us yourself, kind of thing. If it
Oh,
was
yeah.
possible to
Like
do that.
bring it over there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like we could that is a good idea and we can workshop that a little bit and fortunately we have a little time to think about it. But yes, some more direct interaction with online participants in the booths. Some way.
That would be
That sounds good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else online? Okay.
This is Tom. You could put breakout rooms for each booth, and that would make it a little easier for dealing with online communication.
Yeah. That's a really good point, Tom. Great point. Okay. Making notes. All right.
Anyone in person? Oh, yep.
I'm just trying to figure out when you're dealing with all these individual sites and you're talking about their remedial design plans, and is there a point from like 30 to 60 to 90% where are you transitioning from just the design plan for actual cleanup, what's going to be taken out, how they're going to meet the cleanup standard on site? At what point in the remedial design development is disposal
Considered.
considered?
Or like
And so at what point, like, does that become relevant to be like talking about?
yeah. So Graham, Josie's on it.
I think you're going to start to see that probably at the 90%. It get really serious. There's just a lot kind of up in the air at this point about, whether there'll be a single site-wide transload, what our disposal options are. And so what we're seeing in these early designs is options. And we'll talk about tonight, like, we're making some assumptions early in design about a way we know it could be done, but I don't have a high confidence that it won't change again before all is said and done. So I think it's still in flux until the later stages.
A great question.
We have time for one or two more comments. Online? Okay. We have another proponent for breakout rooms as well.
Okay. Great. All right. Do you want to go to the next? I know I'm going to be up for the next one too. So
Alrighty. Thank you so much, Laura. It looks like you already have us busy for the summertime. It's going to be a good time. The next presentation is going to take us into the rest of the night, and that is with Josie Clark and Laura Hanna. Laura is up first. Oh, the other Laura is up first again.